You're listening to Creative Moves, Left Career, Right Path. My name's Kabir, and today I'm talking to Declan Cosgrove, who runs a company that offers a way to learn the piano quickly later in life. Prior to that, he worked in insurance and ran an internet marketing agency. Sounds like you've had an interesting career, Declan. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us.
Hi. Thanks for having us on, yeah.
How are you doing today?
Great. Yeah, great, thanks, yeah.
What would be really useful is if you could talk us through your career, just sort of as headlines from when you left school to where you are now, just so we get an understanding of the moves you've made to get to where you are.
Sure, yeah. So when I left school at 18, I did the A-levels as they were then, and I was due to go into Manchester University. And a couple of weeks before I was due to start, my dad had this idea about why don't you go for a job interview purely for the experience of interviews, because everybody comes out of uni and then they're all looking for a job at the same time with no experience for doing interviews. So he said, I found you this job in the newspaper, why not go for it, with obviously zero intention of taking it, so you'll be nice and chilled, relaxed. I thought, brilliant idea. So he drove me into Manchester. It happened to be insurance broking, which I'd never heard of before. So I went in to this job interview for practice, came out with the job. So my dad said, how did it go? I went, yeah, brilliant, I'm starting on Monday. He went, you weren't meant to get the job. So as it happened, that ended up being a really fortuitous moment, because I think I would have messed around at uni, because I was playing music, I was in bands at that stage, so I was writing songs, playing gigs, and I think I would have just been out socialising. So I probably would have passed my course and things, but I think it would have been 3 years sort of a bit wasted. Whereas what I did, I qualified within the insurance sector, so the professional qualification within 3 years, but 3 years pay, and more importantly, 3 years experience. So by the time I was 21 then, I was the youngest qualified person in an office of 200 people.
What's the qualification? Is it a degree, or is it?
It's the same level, yeah. It's
right.
The Associate of Chartered Insurance Institute, ACII. But it's a similar level.
Did that please your dad that you were doing that? So
yeah, I think
did he not care?
He taught in higher education, so he was a dean of a teacher training college, and he was seeing that in the 60s, if you went to uni, then that guaranteed you a certain level of job. He was saying not automatically. He was going, well, now he's seen that a lot of people come out of uni and they weren't all getting jobs easily. So I think he probably thought that maybe getting experience ahead of the pack would have been good, but he didn't expect me to actually take the job.
Yeah, or get it.
No, but it was just it was one of those weird things that I never in a million years would have dreamt I would have wanted that job. But the guy who interviewed me, he was a very, very unique type of person, and we just hit it off. And he really liked me, and he talked me into it. But I think he was right. He was saying that I will fast track you. I'll give you this management experience. You'll have 3 years pay, 3 years experience, and you'll be qualified. So do you want it? And that was the best thing I did, because I really put my head down. I worked really hard. I qualified, and then I could leapfrog the other people in the office that might take 6 years to actually qualify. I'd done it in 3, and then I was able to move to a smaller company, get more experience and a lot more pay. I did that 3 times, and then I ended up getting to quite a high level at 26. So I loved it, enjoyed it, found it very easy then. I had my own portfolio of clients and I controlled my own time. At the same time, I was in a band and we played gigs around the place, and we had meetings with a few of the record, the labels. And one of the labels, we gave a tape to one of them that was involved with the Eurovision song project, and a song came out that was very similar to one of my songs, and we had a situation whereby I was interviewed on TV and radio. I think I did 20 odd interviews within the first 48
because
hours.
Of that.
Yeah, about the fact of this song that was being put forward as the UK entry was very similar to my hook of the song. And so during this 48-hour period, my phone was hopping with interviews with ITV, Radio 1, and lots of other things. And at the same time, my boss in the insurance firm had asked me to jump on a plane and go and see a client. And I had to say to him, no, I can't, because I'm doing a live interview on TV later, and I've got other interviews I need to do. And he's the type of guy you don't say no to.
Right.
So I expected that he would sack me on the spot. So he called me into the office, and as I was going in to endure his wrath, saying you are getting on that plane, I realised that the phone I had was a company phone. So that was the phone number I'd given to the media. And I realised I need that phone, at least for the next few days. So I hid the phone under the bush outside, thinking that if he sacks me, he'll say, your car keys on the phone on that table now, kind of thing. So the process of putting the phone under the bush made me realise, as much as I really enjoyed the job, he was a great boss, he paid me really well. I had found this formula that worked really well, so I had lots of freedom, and it was a brilliant job at 26. But actually, the job isn't going to change now. I've got this freedom, and it's not really going to change over the next 30 years. I'm being paid well, but I don't really need more money. I was paying high tax rate at that stage. And actually, 30 years more doing the same things is a bit boring, whereas this new exciting thing, this could lead anywhere. And I can write lots of other songs, so maybe songwriting is a very exciting thing I'd like to explore. So I think in that moment, I realised I need to get out of insurance and I need to get into music. So that's what I did. So
wow.
Yeah, so I gave.
And
him,
was he going to fire you, or did you resign?
Yeah, well, he jumped up and down and he shouted that about I have to get on the plane. He's the boss, but I just said I'm not. I have to follow this. I have to see where this leads. And he said, "Okay, then, right. You got 2 weeks. Do this, and you're either back here or you're gone."
Right.
Because I think he knew. You see, I brought all these clients on, so he didn't know my clients. So if he sacked me instantly, then then he would have lost a lot. So we had a nice phased handover. I introduced the other directors to all my clients in a phased way, and then I left.
Right. So you were in a band throughout starting at that job, maybe before that, or
from school. So we started the band when I was 13.
Right.
And that for me was amazing because I was incredibly shy. I had a stammer, a really bad speech kind of impediment, and so music for me was brilliant because it was something I could do to raise myself the confidence without having to speak.
Yeah.
So
what instrument did you play?
Piano.
Right.
Mainly piano, yeah. And so I'd play, first of all, for the school assemblies, and then we formed a band with a friend of mine, and then we'd do concerts at the school disco, first of all. Then we'd hire the school hall, print our own tickets, and fill it full of our friends. I loved doing the band. It was brilliant.
Right.
And then I started writing songs at 13 as well.
At that age, did you ever think you would like that as a career, to be a musician, or was it just something that you loved doing and
there was always the vague hope, hence why we went to see the record labels.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we had a vague hope we might get signed and might be pop stars, but not at any cost.
Yeah.
So I sort of knew I would like aspects of that, but perhaps not some other aspects.
Right.
So if it's a vague idea that it might be nice to be a pop star, but I didn't fancy being sat in the back of an old broke down Ford Transit going up and down the M1 playing working men's clubs and so a vague thing, but at the same time thinking I do need to get a job because it's unlikely that will be a career.
Yeah. So I guess when you got to the point where you were like 26 and you were at the insurance company, by that point you had some money behind you and you're like, right, I want to give it a go.
Yes. So when I left the insurance job, I realised that I wanted to be financially independent. So I had made some money by that stage, but I was working for the boss. The next stage, I realised I want to be my own boss. So that's why I left that. And I realised I can't just join any other insurance firm because it's going to be the same. I'm going to be joining an existing thing. So I wanted to be self-employed. So that was the big thing. But then I realised again, I can't just turn a tap on of new money in music because I don't have any contact. So I thought I could do some jingles or songwriting or something, but it would take time to build up that level of income. So in the meantime, I thought, okay, what can I do that is more steady income? And the internet was just around then. And so building websites was a new thing. And a friend of mine had this program, Front Page, I think it was called, and he showed me how to do it. I thought, well, I can learn how to do that. So this is nothing to do with all my qualifications and my training and my formula I'd established in insurance that meant I did quite well at it. I started from the ground upwards, just got a laptop, worked from home, and set up my web design firm. That then grew, and over a few years ended up having, some staff, offices, and it sort of grew.
Designing websites.
Yeah, and then internet marketing. So we expanded into internet marketing then. Had
you done any design work before?
No,
right. So,
but fairly quickly. See, I started employing, so I'd employ graphic designers, programmers, online marketing people. So as soon as I could afford to pay people that were way better than me at those things, I did. So I was the MD then, more running the business, not actually doing the more creative side.
And I'm interested. You mentioned a couple of times you had a formula when you were working as in insurance broking. What can you, without maybe giving anything away, but what do you mean by that?
It's a bit mad, right? So my brain has always gone to, is there a way to radically transform the way something's done to make it more efficient? But as in radically, not just tweak it. This links into the current thing I'm doing, which I might cover later. But basically, in insurance, it was very established. So there's all these insurers out there, and they insure factories and fleets of cars and things. And your job as a broker is to go and find the information from the client of, I've got these 300 cars in my fleet, I've got these factories, they've got this stuff in it. And you go to 20 insurers and you ask them to quote for this stuff. And you get 20 quotes back and you compile it all and you go to the client and say, I've got this quote here. And every other broker does the same thing. They're all approaching the same 20 companies with the same info, a vast amount of wastage. The insurers are quoting for 20 jobs, but they only get like one. One person can get that particular job. But what ends up happening is they have to quote for what they're asked to quote for. So when you go into a factory and you try and look at everything, it's almost impossible for everybody to get everything exactly the same because you're meant to tell them of all the risks, how good it is in areas, but you're meant to tell them if something isn't quite. So basically, if you and I both go into a factory and we're taking our notes and then ask for a quote, your information you give to the insurer is going to be slightly different from mine.
Of course.
So the quote comes back slightly different. Now, on top of that as well, if you're having a drink with your mate in the pub that is the insurance guy, so they're not meant to do.
They might ask you some leading questions that help them establish that the budget, the cost could be X rather than Y or whatever.
Yeah, but that overall, it's meant to be pretty much the same, right? And pretty much the brokers can source pretty much the same insurers list. So all this administration is going on. To me, it was just a ludicrous waste of time, and I found that really boring and stupid, right? So the people in the office, their job was to do all that work for me. So I would be in touch with the client. I would work out the information, pass it to a team of people at the office. They would churn away doing all this work. Whereas what I liked doing was going to restaurants. So I found, I'm not a salesperson, but I found clients like restaurants. So if I say to a client, do you fancy going out for lunch to chat about your factory? Okay, yeah. So then we're out for lunch chatting about the same factory that the other people are going into their office about. And then you just chat about things, holidays and family and this and that. And you find out about the person, and then you find out what makes them tick. And everybody in the insurance was thinking, what's the cheapest quote gets the job? But most of the time it wasn't.
Yeah.
So there's loads and loads of times whereby a young guy was going on and on over lunch, going on about how he's annoyed that his brothers have Porsches, but his dad will only let him drive a BMW M3 because he'd crashed other cars.
Right.
And so he's only allowed an M3 and his brothers have Porsches. Ha ha. So I said to him, if I can get you covered on a Porsche, yeah, for cheaper than the insurance on the M3, so you can justify to your dad it's cheaper, fully knowing that no insurer wanted to insure him on a Porsche. But if I could get it, then would you give me all your factory business? And he went, yeah, but now I have to justify why I'm moving the factory business, so you have to make a saving. So I said, how much? 10%'s enough just to justify it to the board. Right, so if I save 10% on your factory and get you insured on the Porsche, I'll get all the business. He went, yeah. So I went to one insurer.
Wrap it up, exactly.
I said, I'm going to save you a whole load of time. Give me a yes or no. Can you do this? And they're going, what, him on a Porsche? Yes or no. You'll get all this other nice business.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got this rubbish, high-risk young lad in. It's not great, but look at all this great stuff. Yes or no? And they went, yes. So I went back to him. So then I realised that is the model. I'm doing what I like, which is taking people out, wining, dining, football, races. That's what they like. And I'm doing deals that the other people are not doing. They don't even know that's the key to unlock the business. But then from the insurance office point of view, I was bypassing all these teams of people that are sat there paid to do this work.
Right.
I didn't need them. I'd done the deal with the insurer.
Right.
I was just bypassing them all.
Yeah.
So I worked out a big bonus deal with the boss because the work I was doing was vastly more profitable than all the work the others were doing. And I wasn't wasting time on people that were dead happy with the current broker. They weren't going to move anyway. They were just using me as a price point. So that idea of finding an algorithm or a pattern or a way of working which is vastly different from the status quo and vastly more efficient, I found that interesting. Yeah, that's sort of the way that my brain always thinks.
So that mindset that you took into internet marketing as well, right? When you learned about the idea of building websites.
Yes. Yeah.
Same principle.
Yes, same, yeah.
And it sounds like the same principle for what you've gone on to do, which you're going to tell us about.
Yeah, so the music side...
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So did that continue through? You were still doing music when you were working in internet marketing, or did that get pushed to the side a little bit?
It's sort of, we did a lot up to late 20s. And then when I started the internet marketing thing...
So when you say were you in band still?
I was up till about maybe, I can't remember exactly, but I think maybe 26, 28. So probably just after the time I left insurance,
Right.
Then the band broke up. So then I didn't really do any gigs for a long time. Yeah, and I did bits and pieces in music, but I think that took a bit of a back seat. So I'd always written some things, but yeah, not a lot. I think I focused more then on the business side with a view of if I build the business and sell it, I've got this pot of money, I can buy a castle, I can go to Ireland, write music. So that I was focused on then building the business to get the exit to then do music.
Right. Okay, so it's still front of center of your mind. But
Yes. Yeah.
Not every day, but with a view to that's where you wanted to get to.
Yes. Yeah.
So how long did you do internet marketing for?
So I think, in my head it's about 14 years, but
Right.
Probably is about that, I'd say. Yeah, I didn't sell it. What I did was I basically stepped away from it and let it run. So it was like an earn out in a way.
Right.
So the team I'd built up, they ran the business. I stepped away from it. So kind of overnight then I didn't see any clients. And so there was no new sales going into the business, but we had a few hundred firms who were our clients. So that went on for about another 10 years.
Okay. So basically you earned your income without working in that industry. Or for that company, yeah.
Yes. So that was a nice kind of transition. I got some income from that. Not a huge amount, but enough to, pay some basic bills and things. But I just...
a small castle in Ireland.
Yeah, I didn't manage to get a castle, but I bought an old thatched cottage.
Right. And so is that when you moved to Ireland? at
Yeah,
that
I was
point?
back and forth between UK and Ireland for quite a bit, and but I realised the idea of the castle. Now I don't want one. So I've expanded the cottage and built on modern bits and studios and different things now, and I've got the house exactly as I like it. And I think, like anything, you might think you want something, but I did rent one, and I stayed in one for a short period of time, and you realise it's brilliant for a weekend or a party, but not
Feels
necessarily.
really cold to me,
Yeah,
and small windows,
dark. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's not.
and lots of steps. So then you moved to Ireland. You didn't buy a castle, but are you doing stuff in music? Is that what?
Yeah, so effectively for a few years, I just sort of did voluntary work and things just to take time out almost. So I did a lot of projects. I worked with the local schools. I organised music for the local festivals. I taught at a special needs charity. And I was just really trying to find what I wanted to do in music, because I originally thought it probably would be writing film soundtracks or something. But now I had a bit of space, and because the cost of living is so low in the countryside, there aren't really any restaurants to go to. There's no taxes, So overnight, my expenses fell really low, so I could live really frugally quite easily. And so I didn't feel a need to go out and have to do something I'm only doing just for the money.
Yeah.
So that bought me time to do a lot of voluntary things and make lots of friends, meet other musicians. And some of the things that I dabbled in was I taught a few people piano. I taught groups of kids. I taught individuals. And then I sort of realised, actually, I don't want a lot of people coming round to my house. And I used to do them in some art centres. And I thought, actually, no, teaching these one-on-ones or even groups of 8 or 10 people isn't really what I want to do. So I sort of realised that using this idea of a radically more efficient way of doing something, I learnt the classical way as a child, and I did the classical exams. But from the age of 13, when I started playing in the band, I started playing by chords. So that's a totally different way of playing from the classical way. And then I acquired the skill of playing by ear, which means that if you hear a song, I know how to play it straight away. So if somebody at a party shouts out a song, I don't have to have ever played it before. If I can think of that song in my head, I can instantly play it.
When you say acquired that skill, what do you mean?
That some people think that you're born with it, but I couldn't do that. And then over years, I could do it.
Right.
So I acquired it by the process of working out how to do things and practice. So I didn't have a formula. I didn't know that it was actually learnable. I just realised over a period of time, I can do it. I can do it not very well, I can do it a bit better. Oh, now I can do it really well. Chords are one of the fundamental building blocks that let you do that.
Right.
So if you don't play by chords, it's very, very difficult to play by ear if you are thinking of individual notes. So there are a few
that makes sense.
Rare people who have this perfect pitch and can hear 8 notes at the same time and tell you what those 8 notes are. I can't do that. And most people can't, like 90% of people cannot do that. But what a lot of people can do, as I realise, is you only need to train your ear to hear 2 things to actually play songs. And this is playing in the full style, like Elton John style. Lots and lots of notes being played, but you don't have to work out all those notes. You just have to focus on 2 things. One is the melody, which is the part a person would sing. And the second is the chords. So chords are groups of notes in a predefined pattern. And songs are made up out of incredibly simple patterns of chords, often 4 chords or less. So say if you take John Lennon Imagine, the verse is 2 chords. So I can hear that. It's just 2 things. So if you wrote that down in sheet music, there's all these dots all over it. But if you know what to look for, you are hearing it's just 2 chords plus the melody. So at parties, when somebody would shout out a tune and I would just play the tune, for often for hours on end. Lots of people would come up and say they wish they could do that. And I said, well, just go and learn, And one particular guy, he was a stockbroker at a friend's birthday party in London. And he was going on and on and on about how his parents should have sent him as a kid. And he was blaming his parents as to why he couldn't play. And it really annoyed me. I went, if you're so passionate about learning piano, go and learn. Oh, I can't learn. I'm in my 50s. I'm way too old. I'm too busy anyway. It really annoyed me. I said, if I can work out a tune in a split second in my head, it's not difficult. It's simple patterns. And he wouldn't have it. And I went, right, I'll prove it to you. So I went, right, I'm going to and then I started to de-engineer how I do it. And it actually took me a lot longer than I thought to work out how I do it, because I was doing it instinctively.
Yeah.
But once I worked out that it's the melody, it's the chords, I also worked out it's numbers. I don't actually do it in letters, which is the classical way I was taught. I do the numbers method, and then I apply it to a key. So that this might sound a bit complicated just verbally saying it, but it's a lot easier to show on the keyboard. But there's 12 different musical keys, which means your starting point for any song. There's 12 places that you could start a song on the keyboard. 12 versions of sheet music, each of which the notes for that song, if you wrote them down as ABC, would be a different pattern of notes. So there's 12 different patterns for every single song. Okay. Our ear just hears it's the same song. So we don't care the starting point. We can recognize that song irrespective of which patterns of the notes you're playing. So we don't recognize a song by any particular notes. We recognize it by the movement of the notes relative to each other. And this was a revelation for me so actually, if you just write down the ear scale, the one scale, how we hear things, that does away with 12 other scales. So it cuts the amount of work you have to do down by 1/12. And then if you use chords with it, it becomes ludicrously simple. So the thing that most people think is impossible, how can you hear a new tune now, hear it and just instantly know how to play it?
But you need to be able to hear that chord, presumably, and replicate it on the keyboard.
Yeah, so you basically, once you know what to look for, and there's only 6 standard chords, of which 3 are major, so they sound happy, and 3 are minor, which sound sad. So once somebody points that out to you, this sounds happy and this sounds sad, you go, okay, yeah, I can hear that, yeah. So there's 3 happy and 3 sad. You can now play 90% of any song ever written.
I mean, I love the piano.
6.
I'd love to learn to play the piano.
It's
So
easy.
this is oh no. Well, it sounds it when we're sitting here talking, but yeah. So obviously that's what you do. You taught the stockbroker to play the piano, I'm guessing, or
No, well, I lost touch with him. So I'd gone away thinking this will take me half a day to work out how I do it. And I realized, I can't explain it like that because he doesn't understand the terminology. So, all right, how can I explain to somebody who knows nothing? All right. So then I ended up going this is more complex. I can't talk about musical keys. He doesn't know what they are. I can't talk about chords. So it took me a few weeks to actually get it distilled down to the simplest way I could possibly explain it to somebody who knows nothing about music. And then once I'd done that, I went back to my friend whose party it was that I met him at. I said, it was Patrick, he was called. I said, what's his phone number? I've got the method now to show him it. And my friend had lost touch with him because he was invited through somebody else. So basically, Patrick never got to see this. But he did me a massive favour because then I started to test this on people. So I did it on BBC Radio Manchester and Radio Lancashire. I taught the presenter to play within 20 minutes, and then I did it on Key 103 Radio.
20 minutes?
Yeah, in 20 minutes, both hands, recognisable songs. You can pick anything. So I did Cannonball, Hallelujah, Let It Be.
So is that
any song?
So that's just for. So that's not reading music. That's literally this system that you have.
Well, yes, not reading a traditional music. Right. So what I worked out was how to write these 2 things which you have to hear in your head. I just wrote them down. So the numbers for the melody and then the numbers for the chords. I show one shape of playing the chords, which is incredibly simple, and you simply move your hand up. So you start on note 1 with that shape for the chord, and then if it's chord 2, you move it up by 1. If it's chord 4, then you move it up to note 4. So a person literally within within 2 minutes can play the 6 chords which are needed to play any song, and play the melody in the other hand. So inside 20 minutes with a bit of practice, if you practice inside that period, most people can play that song to a level that other people would actually recognise the song. You're playing chords and melody, and then there's ways of just changing the pattern to a slightly more advanced pattern, makes it sound way more advanced. And then the full professional way of playing is simply changing the pattern which you play that chord with. You play it in the Elton John style. So it can take you all the way from a child of 4 can do it, all the way up to the full Elton John.
What's the Elton John style?
That's just different shapes of the chord. So the way that you play the chord, you then play it in both hands, not just the left hand.
Right.
And you put in what we call some passing notes. So there's a couple of extra bits which, off the same instruction, it's the same, just 2 lines, let you play the full advanced style.
Right.
So what I'm just launching next week is the final piece of the jigsaw where it all came from, which is how to hear those 2 instructions in your head, not needing a sheet of paper to read from, the full playing by ear thing. But I got a patent for this, so it's I thought, this is so ludicrously simple, surely somebody must have done this before, and apparently not. So so this is the thing then I put into a course, an online course, because I realised I don't want to teach small groups of people.
We're going back to there. Yeah, so you're not in the social centre with 8 to 10 people. You just want to,
So I thought, actually, I want more freedom of time, and I also want more reach. I want to help more people. And I'd seen that the method with my charity work, it worked with the kids in the school, it worked with the special needs people, it worked with older people in their 80s and 90s, could learn to play and play incredibly quickly. I mean, Harry was 90, joined us, and never played. He tried it as a child and he couldn't read the dots, and he was told that he's not musical. And then he joined us at age 90. He learned his first song within 1 hour. He was playing his first song.
That must have been so emotional.
Yeah. So, there's a few thousand people now who have actually accessed it through the course. Loads of people in the 70s, 80s, and people like Dee is 96. But I've got so many people who have actually told me how it's transformed their life in ways that I never imagined. And it's health and well-being.
Right.
So a lot of people say their partners have died and they were in grief and really down. And through playing piano, it's transformed how they feel. It uplifts their spirits. They've made friends through it now, because we have a social side of it as well. So they're meeting other like-minded people.
So there's like a platform within your software. So
yes, yeah. So they can make friends, converse.
Like a community.
Yeah. So there's a few thousand people in that, and people are meeting up physically as well now. If they want to opt in to what we call the buddy group, then we can assign them one or several people in their area, and they can meet online if they want, or physically in person. So often people will meet up in groups of 4 or 5 and have a piano party. So that's
amazing.
Yeah, I'd never imagined that it would have been a health kind of benefit thing.
Yeah, sure.
But people are saying that the confidence as well. If they're aged 80 and they've always been told that they can't play music, they're not musical, and suddenly find I am. It's just the method I was taught wasn't suitable for my learning type or for the type of music I wanted to play. I can play incredibly quickly. I can play within hours or days. What else is possible that I've always thought I couldn't do?
Right, that's interesting.
So it really transforms their confidence in themselves.
Yeah. And so how much of your week do you spend on that? I'm guessing not too much.
So my time is mainly working on just maintaining the team of people, and as we grow, I manage the growth of the team, because we're adding in a few thousand more people each year, and also working on extra courses then. So there's a course next week which is the ear play, I call it, which is the playing by ear bit, because the course I launched, working from playing by ear was the first thing. Then I worked. So my style of playing was the professional style of playing, but I realized that takes time to acquire the skill with your fingers. So I invented the beginner's style, which is the 80-20 rule thing. So most of the effect with a fraction of the effort. Yeah. And that's what gets people to play within 20 minutes or an hour or whatever. So that's the only product I had launched up until fairly recently, was the beginner's product. But it all started with the ear play, then the professional side, then the beginners. But I'd only launched the beginners. So most of the last year or so, I've been working on the professional one, which we launched maybe about 6 months ago, and I've been working most recently on the playing by ear one, which is where it all started from, and we're launching that on Monday.
Wow! And so, do you feel like you've reached the point that you maybe you wouldn't have known where you wanted to get with music, but this is where you are now, and it's where you're meant to be with music? Or do you think there's more to come?
I 100% think this is what I was meant to do. I don't know whether there might be a stage at which I feel, right, I've fundamentally done most of this, and there's something else that is exciting, and I might do something else in the future. But I definitely feel that this is my sort of my passion, my mission.
Yeah,
it's changing lives. It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done, and it feels as well. It ticks my box of this kind of unique. I've solved this unique problem that nobody else has solved.
Come up with your own formula as well, Dec. Again.
Yeah. So, I like that. I get a bit of a buzz that I've sort of been able to add value somewhere. Quite hard to get the publishers, for example, to accept this as a format, because they're going, but we've got our sheet music. Yeah, but I'd like you to add my sheet music onto your platform. Well, that needs work. And what's the size of the market? Well, nobody yet, because I haven't launched it yet.
And so were you able to persuade them?
I was, yes. And now we are.
Of course you were.
We are the only. It took me about a year.
Right.
I got through to the world's biggest publisher. It took me a year, but I got approved. So we are now the only non-traditional format of music that is on the official website of the world's biggest publisher.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I like challenges like that, because you feel like you are breaking new ground. You feel like you're doing something new that is going to help people. And whilst it is a challenge, because the initial is no, you can't. But I find that interesting as a challenge. And then if it comes off,
you find no interesting as a challenge.
If it's a direction that I think, if I can get the no to a yes and other people are going to significantly benefit, then yes.
Yeah.
So if it was just, say, tweaking, if I had found a way that can slightly tweak the dots on standard sheets, it's slightly better, I wouldn't really be that interested, and I wouldn't be interested in spending a year trying to knock down the doors of the publishers to say, please, can you put my slightly amended sheets on your site? I'd have no interest in that. This literally, for people who've tried the dots and they can't do it. There's loads of people with dyslexia, low sight, ADHD, a whole range of learning types cannot access the abstract nature of a dot on a line.
Sure.
Which is a letter. That dot on a line is a C, and that C is a note there. It's a very long-winded way of going around it. And by doing things like calling that a C, you are effectively making it virtually impossible to ever learn to play by ear.
Yeah.
Because our ear does not hear the absolute notes. It hears the relative movement of notes. So the minute you call it an actual C, that same song can be played without that note. So this for me was a radically different way of helping people that have never been able to access music, access it.
So the people that buy your course, do they all have keyboards, or how?
Yeah.
Or so you encourage them to buy a small keyboard?
Yeah.
Or?
I mean, I recommend a keyboard. It's less than £200 for what I consider quite a decent one. Yeah, so people would buy a keyboard usually. They sometimes they would have access to a keyboard, especially say if they're in a home or something, they might have access to it. But yeah, most people would buy one.
Do children buy your course, or do parents buy your course for children as well? Because you mentioned for people later in life, but obviously it's for anyone, right?
Yes, it does apply to everybody. From a marketing point of view, we only market it to the over 50s.
Yeah.
But that's purely a marketing choice because I just wanted to get the maximum traction we can by focusing on a group, first of all. And it was vastly underserved. So when we used to offer it to everybody, we found that most people that bought it were over 50 and quite often over 60. And the people that gave us feedback about how transformative it was were mainly in that age group.
So that I feel like I can answer this question at least twice based on what we've talked about. But for you, is there one particular sliding door moment that you feel has been more impactful than any other? And when I say I can think of two, is obviously there's going for the interview that you didn't want, and the stockbroker Patrick that you never got to teach the piano yet.
Yes.
Is there any one that you think that's the most profound sliding door moment for me? Or
well, the Patrick one, was if he hadn't have made me so frustrated, by absolutely not being open to the fact that he could learn, then I wouldn't have set out to prove it that he could. So thanks, Patrick, if you listen. I think there's been several. So going for the job interview set me on a course. Now, whether I would have ended up in the same place or not by a different route, not sure. The putting the phone under the bush and actually knowing I need to leave employment and become self-employed, that was a biggie. And there was one as well when I decided to stop doing the internet marketing. That was a culmination of a few things, but a divorce was involved in that as well. And I think a few things came to a head at the same time when I went, do you know what? Why am I getting on this train, going into a city to this 3-story office to manage all these people when actually it's not what I really want to do? It's only because I'm trying to earn that big pot of money over there.
Yeah.
And I think then when some things didn't go my way, it was easier to walk away from it and just say, you know what, I'll just let the team run it and I'm not doing it anymore. And yes, that is going to go down and down over time because we're not putting any new clients in the pot, but I get myself freedom of time then. So I found that change, whilst I was my own boss at that stage, my realization was, okay, but I'm not totally passionate about the product, I suppose, or the services.
Yeah.
So the third iteration then, so the insurance was the first iteration, the online marketing was the second. So the third step was to combine both the freedom of being my own boss, but with the passion, a thing that I would do for no money. And I did for several years. I did it for no money and I was dead happy. So then after that, it just evolved into a business. And now it's more successful than any of the other businesses I did before. But that sort of wasn't the point. I wasn't doing it for the financial side of it. I was happy when I wasn't earning much money. So it's just nice now it has come full circle and it is working well.
Listening to your story, the thing that is constant is your love of music, and you wanted to be a musician when you were in a band, and actually now you're still involved in working in music, but it's a little bit different to how you ever imagined it to be. So it's still, to my mind, it's still your passion, but it's just a different way of it's in a different format to necessarily what you maybe would have thought about when you were younger.
Yeah, in my earlier years, my biggest buzz was playing gigs or being on TV or radio or a festival. So playing a gig, and the bigger the audience, the better, the more buzz. So that was what I thought is the pinnacle of the fun. Then having, say, a song played on the radio, that's fun. So then, that's a bit of a buzz. So those were my buzzes. What I didn't know was I would experience a bigger buzz from empowering other people to play. So now I do enjoy playing. In fact, I played my all-time hero. I managed to play a full set with him on his last date of his Irish tour because the keyboard player got ill.
Who's that?
Glenn Hansard.
Right.
So he's my all-time hero.
I don't know him, but I mean, if you obviously...
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Just amazing, utterly amazing. But the scariest thing I've ever done, because I only got the set list 18 minutes before we went on, and I meant play a song. I didn't mean play the whole set. So we went for the sound check, and I'd not heard most of the songs before because this was the new album which he was launching. So I literally never heard them before. And so we had a bit of a jam for an hour or so at the sound check. And I said, right, so what's the story? I said, am I playing? And he went, yeah. I said, well, what song? He said, all of them. I went, what do you mean all of them? And this is like a couple of hours before the actual gig.
How big was the gig?
About 600 people. And it was...
Doesn't really matter how many people, actually.
No.
It's a gig.
But well, this is my hero, and I'm going, I cannot ruin my hero's gig. And I'm going like, oh no, I can't do that. I mean, I can play by ear, but I have to know how the tune goes.
You definitely put in DecPlay to the test with this one.
Yeah, well, it's the scariest thing I've ever done. And literally, I got the set list 18 minutes before we went on. And so I was flying by the seat of my pants and literally having to play by ear on songs I don't know how they go, which I would have said that's pushing it. Yeah.
Right. So actually learning as the song started.
Yeah, so basically you had to just listen. Now, what I generally do is just hold back until I've heard a few bars or something. Then I know I can hear the key, I can hear what's going on, hold back a bit. And then after I say heard the verse the first time through, then I know the second time, I know what's going on in the verse. But then I have to improvise a part that is complementary to all the other guys at the same time. It's not just play the chord.
Yeah.
You want to play something which enhances what the rest of the band are playing. So it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my entire
Successful?
life. Yeah, amazing.
And was he happy?
Yeah. Like one of the band members called me Pegasus because I double winged it, he said. And he said he doesn't know anybody that could have done that. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that again. That was, for me, that was too risky. And it did work, but it could have not worked. But it was a bit of a magical, again, something that you would have said is impossible. And so it showed me that, again, things I would have thought are impossible maybe can be possible.
So there's one more question for you, and that is, considering all the moves you've made to get to where you are, if you could go back in time, is there anyone that you would change, or do you feel like you are where you are in the order that you should have been there?
Yeah, I think the short answer is I wouldn't change anything. However, I suppose the only thing I might would be do what I'm doing sooner. So, but like anything at the time, if you'd have told me, stop what you're doing and do something else, it took the things to stop me, so things changed and things happened. And often things that I didn't want to happen happened that then made it easier to walk away from stuff and start again. So I probably couldn't have done it soon. I wouldn't have listened if the me now could go back in time and talk to the me then. So leave insurance 1 year before I left. I probably, why? It's a brilliant job. I'm really enjoying it. So it probably had to happen the way that it happened. But that's the only thing is I would say, wow, if I could have tasted this back then, that would have been...
But then it might have been, you needed a Patrick. You needed a party in London and Patrick. That's what you needed. Yeah.
And it probably is, like all these little micro steps. Because every big thing, like leaving my career, there's probably lots of little micro steps that led to that moment. It probably wasn't just I was totally happy one minute and then I just left the next minute.
That's interesting. We always think that there was a catalyst or there was a reason we did something, but you're right. There was little incremental things that happened on the way to that big change that probably got us there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I can point to an absolute moment that was the moment, but that in itself probably wouldn't have been the moment without all those little micro steps that led to that moment.
Well, it's been really fascinating to hear your story. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
You're welcome. You've been listening to Creative Moves, Left Career, Right Path, a Cabbage and Bubble TV co-production. Host Kabir Malik, producers Pauline Russell and Kabir Malik. Special thanks to Declan Cosgrove. Follow us on Instagram at Creative Moves. Subscribe to Creative Moves on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Acast, or wherever you get your podcasts.